What's your biggest criticism of General Z's culture? Just the constant filming. Experienced with my younger sisters and my kids. We're eating scrambled eggs, waffles and drinking orange juice at 6 a.m. on Saturday. Maybe a documentary isn't needed. On the contrary, any family with kids that's awake and fully seated with a home-cooked breakfast by 6 a.m. on a Saturday needs to be studied. Lol. Never said we're fully awake. And scrambled eggs and waffles really don't take that long to make. Yeah, but up at 5-something on a Saturday? Not my family at all, lol. And my youngest is 5. My kids like sleep on the weekends. The obsession with filming themselves and posting it online. Especially people who film themselves crying. I get that they're trying to be vulnerable or whatever, but I don't get it. When I am crying, my first instinct isn't to whip my phone out and make a video, but maybe that's just me. Seriously, when I'm crying, the last thing I want is anyone to see me in that state. If I'm outside, I'll sit in my car until my eyes clear up and my nose stops being red before I go into anywhere. It also takes away the meaning from anything. Film it all. All of it. Like, where's the discretion? All the filming cheapens the things filmed. General Z, the gratification of disloyalty in relationships, and the lack of care taken once having gotten into a relationship. Completely agree with you, fellow General Z. Anytime I am out in a social setting, most folk are spilling the beans like it's a competition of who can be the most disloyal. It annoys me that our generation preaches on about inclusion and awareness of certain issues but are themselves complete hypocrites. To be fair, that's been around since my day. Lola mate I was friends with 10 years ago seemed to revel in cheating on her boyfriend. Lola's reality TV glorifying it. It goes all the way back to shows like Geordie Shore and X on the Beach. People have always boasted about infidelity. The mistresses of kings would literally live in the palace with the queen. Talk about no fucks. Poor social skills and social media addiction often go hand in hand. This describes most boomers as well. TikTok culture is absolute trash. It takes all the bad shit from social media and dumbs it down somehow. Short attention span bullshit is for the literal mindless. Yeah, and these kids were just born that way. The older generations definitely didn't allow tax-evading billionaires to condition their children so that they'd be addicted to short attention span consumerism. The older generations definitely didn't spend the last 40 years of allowing education to plummet, devoid of funds, devoid of good teachers. The good ones tend to go private, giving professionals educated in pedagogy was somehow not worth the investment, while they personally send their own money to a failed ex-president to finance his lawyers, because God forbid we hold any of the powerful people in check and accountable for their actions. The boomers and General X watched calmly as their kids sank into screen addiction, because hey, at least they didn't have to spend too much time raising kids. Now, that generation is addicted to likes, 8-second videos and the dopamine flash from them, and their very own parents stand acting all fucking surprised that's not the child I raised. Yes, they are. I'm a teacher myself. You have no idea how many young adults and kids I deal with whose parents literally refuse to be a parent. Now they are unable to communicate. Wonder fucking why. Where did I blame them for this? And it's hard to blame the parents half the time, even because they're so squeezed out. Being a parent is impossible. There is something to be said for two-parent single-income households. The reality is when women entered the workplace en masse, capitalism did what capitalism does, and adjusted the affordability of the market. I mean, it's really clear the next wave of suckitude is listless young men that don't see a point. Can't say I blame them. Can't he override millennia of evolutionary made choice? Can't he make women date down on the economic ladder? And because we are so Puritan in this county, we don't have affordable sex workers and outlet for them. Personally, I am out. American culture is fundamentally broken, and both sides are pointing fingers at each other, when it is really the elites to blame for all this nonsense. America is good for one thing, making money. Once you got, I have no idea why anyone stays. I'm genuinely concerned about how little time they spend in their free time exploring the physical world. At 33, I can say I have the same concerns about myself. Welcome to life, school, work, sleep, eat, die. Good luck fitting life in between it all. Yeah, but when you were younger and your brain was developing, you were not using a smartphone or on social media. You were out in the physical world socializing like humans have been for thousands of years, until recently. I was rollerblading down the street while playing Bop It Extreme. The good old days. Terminally online. I am General Z, and ILL say to online, always wanting to record everything. Not saying it is bad to record for nostalgia when looking back years later, but not everything needs to be recorded at every moment, and most importantly, not everything needs to be posted online for the world to see. Some things are just private. Yeah, I must being the weird kid for being terminally online. Hating bullying but being the biggest bullies. If you think General Z are the biggest bullies of any generation, you were either born yesterday or spent too much time in Fox News comment sections. Almost everyone in this thread is like 40, and has so obviously never actually interacted with anyone from Gen Z for any substantial amount of time. All they know are the caricatures and stereotypes fed to them by outrage peddlers. I'm Gen Z, and I'll say THIS1. Mental health is real, but a lot of us are milking it to make excuses to be sad, and LAZY too. We spend too much time trying to record our life and make it seem like it's better when it's NOT3. We lack genuine CONNECTION4. We put emotions over LOGIC5. If it's hard or hurt our feelings, we don't want a Dwight 6. Super sensitive. I feel like our generation would faint if Eminem was still in his prime. Bear in mind, a lot of this is just immaturity that'll wash out as time moves on. This thread is very weird for me, because I'll be 30 in a few years, and I'm technically Gen Z. I don't relate to pretty much any of this stuff people are talking about lol. As an under 30 millennial, we are the bridges between both. I've seen myself placed in both, but considering my siblings all go in the millennial category, it's where I place myself due to their influence. They have no stamina on so many levels. That's a fucking good point. I would elaborate how, but that's not the vibe right now. Bruh, I'll 100% make that the vibe right now. Kinda want to hear what you've got in mind, because I want to know if I'm the only asshole in the room lol. I think General Z has done a fantastic job of prioritizing mental health and paying attention to emotions, but it seems that the pendulum has almost swung too far. I've noticed that they are so emotional that they have a tough time using logic. Disagree with someone? Cancel them ASAP. Someone said something that hurt your feelings? Very obviously a gaslighting, narcissistic, ableist. My nephew is 18, got his first job recently, but quit because working isn't conducive to good mental health, and he finds that the concept of a job panders to toxic capitalism. For context, this job was customer service in a bookshop right parenthesis. I mean, I don't disagree with the sentiment at all, but it's not like the rest of us go to work 5 days a week for fun. How you gonna pay those bills, son? Your sibling or your parents will pay his bills. Instant gratification and lack of social skills. I hired a General Z kid to come rat my leaves. First I was impressed at his willingness to make money doing yard work. But More impressive were his professionalism and personality. His mama raised him right. Right? I mean, maybe when his mama and papa, who knows? Feels like we're the most isolated generation. Maybe it tests the phones. Maybe it was lockdown. Maybe it tests just an observation too made of the trajectory humans have been on as technology creates more and more shortcuts in our lives. It seems like there is this pervasive no one owes you anything, protect your peace, cut everyone out of your life, when they aren't acting perfectly type of attitude that is compounded by the shorthand everyone should be in therapy approach. And I am not talking about bigotry or accepting abuse or anything, more along the lines of interpersonal conflict that comes with the territory of closeness and intimacy. I feel like I hear stories of people falling out or having disagreements, and the only correct response is to cut them out of your life with no room for making amends. Despite us finding our own in an age of self-optimization, people aren't perfect, and if you hold them to the standard that they should never hurt you or inconvenience you, then you'll find this life to be incredibly lonely. And again, that isn't mean accept mistreatment, but it isn't hurt to have a conversation and try to find common ground before throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I think that's a really good observation. Part of it is immaturity, like you see in any relationship subreddit, but also it's a lot more prevalent and different than it used to be. When I was growing up, it was like, well, you're stuck with these people around you, so at least try to solve it, fix it, make the most of it, before deciding to burn bridges. We weren't used to having millions of other people just a click away. We'd have our arguments and take a breather, and then be right back to okay again soon enough. Of course, real abuse or whatever is a totally different thing, but not for just petty little stuff. Inability to genuinely connect with others. Ain't nobody got time to listen, because everyone feels like they have so much to say. Nobody is willing to sacrifice to make others feel better. At least that's my experience so far. That's just American culture. You're getting downvoted, but in my opinion you're correct. America is one of the most individualistic cultures, which can be good, but it also breeds selfishness. The victimizing. Gen Z and I've noticed that we have turned privileges into a bad thing. It's like you have a better reputation if you struggle with something, mental health or family problems, and we get mad at those who have privilege, when really we should just be appreciative of the good. There is enough bad in this world. Yes, but only if you're young. The ageism is rampant. Are you saying that Gen Z is ageist towards older people? Yes. Yeah, I definitely see that too. I'm Gen Z. It seems like most people my age have convinced themselves that they're the nicest, most open and caring people alive but are actually all terrible people. Everyone in this generation is either a racist neo-Nazi extremist troll overlord, or the most fragile human being on earth. Very few are in between. I am in this generation. People just can't be normal anymore. Everyone must be special. Yup. And all the labels. There are so many. I hated labeling myself. I don't want to be put in a box. But kids now are like, I am a high-functioning sociopath, vegan on every second Monday, nihilist, bipolar tendencies, pansexual, with a side of undiagnosed autism. I am happy that mental health awareness is changing, but what happened to privacy? No one needs to know every little single detail about me. I just think at such a young age, kids shouldn't put themselves in these core-defining boxes, because we all change as we get older. I think it creates a bit of a closed-mindedness with all of the labels. I don't know. Like it's not a huge deal, but I am General X, and we used to call out posers. Like it's fine to like what you like, but to be a poser, just to try to fit in or for street cred is so fucking cringy. I totally think gatekeeping sucks, but if the people don't actually like it, or know anything about what they are conveying as their image at Lane, and they are posers, they were treated more kindly by adults when they were small children than generations before them, but are the most judgmental and disrespectful towards older people of any generation I have seen. Their social justice approach feels more like our internet brownie point grab, rather than them actually fighting the good fight, and just causing a political schism between things over stupid arguments that we are wasting our time fighting each other over. I can't say whether General Z does it more or not, but slacktivism, https://n wikipedia.org/wiki/slacktivism, is more prevalent in all generations than it used to be. As a Gen Z member, our addiction to constant need of attention from others on social media, I need an attention detox. Constant victimhood. Like a mass persecution complex almost, which ties into what I believe to be a form of narcissism thanks to the whole social media concept of being famous for doing absolutely nothing new or interesting, paired with the ability to do so from the comfort of home, meaning people with zero haters or ops pretending they have them for clout, posting about how everyone in their lives is oppressing them in every way. For example, I recently had a few back and forth discussions about greeting a stranger in public. My example was saying things like, "Good morning" to someone you pass in the store. There were so many replies about how speaking to someone violates their autonomy by attempting to force a conversation or some insane shit. Then some people replied to those comments saying stuff like, "Then you shouldn't go out in public," which prompted further retorts about how extroverts are trying to force introverts to stay indoors 24/7 or alter their lifestyle to meet the extroverts' expected social criteria. It turned into a classic us versus the mono comment about being friendly to strangers. It honestly went off the rails a bit. Wow, but I've seen convos and takes like this, so I know you're telling the truth, and it's so insane. I don't like how violent and argumentative my generation is. Maybe not so much more than previous generations, but just the way I see my peers talk online, and how quick they are to escalate in public is concerning to me. Everyone just seems so vengeful and full of hate, and they don't understand what their words really mean, cause a lot of us grew up on the internet, being able to just say whatever without having to do it face to face with all the real world feelings all the time. I'm a person with anger issues, and grew up hating the world, but I've realized the importance of not adding to the hate, and in turn I'm so much happier. Lol. General Z. I'm a millennial, and I remember being the same sort of shout everyone down, because I think I'm right sort. Every generation does this when they are young, and it's not unhealthy to be this engaged. The flaw is that the internet magnifies this behavior, and allows it to be meaner. As someone in my 30s now, I highly recommend continuing to learn and understand history. For me, history cements a valuable lesson that the nature of humanity is to be flawed, and that nobody sets out in life with evil intentions. TikTok trends are absolutely ridiculous, and they should stop pranking and harassing service workers and fast food workers for TikTok views. General Z. Dating culture is the absolute worst. Here's how it works. You match with someone on a dating site and go on maybe 1 or 2 dates. But what happens is someone will start to emotionally treat you like you're in a relationship. Pet names, talking all the time, emotional support, while also saying things like no labels. What they want is all the best parts of relationship, like sex and affection, and someone to listen to all their problems. But what they don't want is commitment, because there is this idea of a dating roster. Someone will be doing the same song and dance with multiple people, but they have their favorites at the top of the roster. The one at the top of the roster is the one. that would be most likely to earn a spot in an actual committed relationship with this person whenever they decide they're done playing everyone else. Everyone else on the roster is just there to get used until they eventually get bored or choose someone else. As someone who prefers dating in a more traditional sense, after going out for drinks or dinner, or to do activities on a date instead of only ever meeting up at their apartment or yours to smash, and not involving emotional attachment, unless it's a committed exclusive relationship, this dating culture is absolutely infuriating. It's impossible to make any genuine connection with a person. Another habit that even millennials have adopted from General Z is stating they're monogamous, but only when they've met the right person, and until then they're exploring options. Sorry kiddo, that's non-monogamy, and if you're 33 and doing that, I'll keep my distance. I have 3 nieces who turn 30 this year. All are good looking, have good jobs, and are kind, generous women. All are currently single, and have lost hope in ever finding a life partner. The reason is if they go out with a man, but don't sleep with him by the 3rd date he ends it. God forbid they have some respect for themselves and their bodies and want to wait a little while before having sex with someone they just met. Then if they do sleep with someone early on, the man refuses to commit to a monogamous relationship after a couple months. I feel really awful for them, because I, as a late General Z, can't imagine trying to find a partner in today's dating environment. I deal with this as a guy. I can't imagine how much worse it is for women. It's absolutely brutal, and the only solution is to truly be happy with yourself. Eventually I might meet the right person, but I'll be damned if I am going to keep doing the same thing over and over and getting more and more jaded each time. The use of BS pseudotherapy language, respecting boundaries. My journey as a cover for cruelty and emotion shabbiness. Calling everything anxiety and/or depression. If you haven't been clinically diagnosed with anxiety or depression, then you're just stressed, as are we all, or just sad. It boils down to attention seeking. I think the bigger issue is just being okay, that everyone is stressed out to the point that it's become difficult to differentiate between clinical depression and just being depressed. It's the attitude of where it's called being an adult. Get over it. Maybe people don't want to normalize wishing they were dead. Everything has this cliche vibe, like a test from a commercial made by teenagers. Unfortunately, General Z was raised in the early corporate internet and has been greatly influenced by the algorithms of major corporations. So many grew up on Logan Paul and like types in their prime county phase and try to emulate them today.